What's up guys, it's Scoopman 5000. Today we're back for another action figure review, and today we're looking at the WWE Elite Legends Series 9 Undertaker. So back with the always consistent WWE Elite line. In this case, it's the Target exclusive Legends. And we're already up to Series 9. This series actually came back with Series 7. And this is my least amount of figures to date, I guess you could say, in these waves. I've picked up just about most of them. I've only skipped one figure per wave, I think. In this case, I'm skipping forward a bit. I really only wanted the Undertaker. I guess if I saw Ted DiBiase, I'd pick him up, but the other ones don't really interest me. But I did see this Undertaker, and I was definitely interested in picking this one up. It's a very cool look for the Undertaker, and one that I don't have in my collection. For the box, you can see it's what we're used to with the Legends line. It's got that golden motif. Nice big window box. You're seeing everything you're going to get. And then on each side, you're getting the portrait of the Undertaker that looks very nice. And then on the back, you're seeing more of that portrait, the other characters in the set, some title victories, and then the description, which mentions that this is from Royal Rumble 1994 against Yokozuna. And that does about do it for the packaging of the Undertaker, so let's get to it. Let's open them up and let's take a look. And here is the Undertaker out of the packaging, and for accessories, you're getting an extra pair of gripping hands, and then on the figure already are like the Undertaker posed up entrance kind of hands. These are definitely the way to go, and a big reason to pick this figure up. He's also got that white Phantom of the Opera mask. I always like this look. It's a short run with the Undertaker. It's actually because he had an injury, but it always makes me think that this was the inspiration for Kane. But I like the white mask. I'm definitely going to be displaying it. It kind of just slides under the hair and it holds that in place. There's no kind of attachment. And then finally, we're getting his entrance gear. He's got this hat. For the jacket, the material is almost like a gym bag or something. Very unique material. I almost think it's too rigid. It doesn't really drape at all, even less so than like the normal cloth. So it just looks a little flat. I feel like you almost got to hit it with some water or something. Just give it a little bit of shape. But taking all that down, what you get the figure out of the packaging here, he looks good. He looks like a classic purple gloves Undertaker, and for a lot of us, that's a version of the figure that we need in our collections. It's a look for the Undertaker that came out in like Elite 20-something. That's got to be 2012 or 2011, something like that. And then it actually got re-released maybe 4 years ago as part of Lost Legends, which was kind of just re-releases of certain figures from that time. I think the European title Shawn Michaels was part of that set, but I wasn't nearly as hardcore with collecting back then. I kind of just got the current guys that were out and just anything I could find in the store. So I did miss out on this version of the Undertaker, so I'm glad it's getting a re-release, and obviously you're getting the face printing technology is going to be new, and also the head sculpt is different from those figures. I think the only benefit of the older head sculpts is that the mask fits a little better because of the strands of hair. The strands of hair on the face, something they always do. They do it on the Bret Hart figures, and it never really turns out quite right. They just look a little bit big. Nobody really has strands of hair like that. So honestly, if you took that away, it'd almost be a better figure for it. But what it is fine. And actually, once you get the mask in and then the hat over it, it kind of all holds in place. But the rest of the head sculpt is pretty standard. It might actually be like a recent Undertaker scan, but it's got that face printing technology. That's going to be a big reason to upgrade. Otherwise, it's your standard Undertaker fare. And then I'd have to think for the rest of this figure, he's just reusing that original. I don't have it to do a comparison directly with, but that's just my educated guess. For the tie here, this is interesting. You actually have an elastic neck band right here. And this is like a shiny cloth material. Only issue I have is it seems to really want to go to the left a lot. I don't know if there's a fix for that. Maybe if I take it off and I kind of readjust it. But if you do get it straight, it does look good. You can kind of put it in between the jacket when that's on there. Put the hair over it. It might work, but it does just kind of want to dangle to the left. Even there, I kind of fixed it though. All the tattoos look good. There's even a bit of color down here I never even noticed. And I don't know if these are accurate to that time. I mean, this is definitely around the time Undertaker was starting to get tatted up, but who knows like which ones are actually specific, if these are just taken from a modern Undertaker, or if this really is accurate, because I know a lot of times the tattoos are kind of a couple years off with a figure like Edge or something like that. For the gloves, you got these pieces here. These just wrap around the wrist, and then the hands are still going to swap, but these are always going to stay on the figure. Removing that, you actually do get the rest of the tattoos, so if you want to swap in any other hand you might have, you can get him without his gloves. Bringing it down to the lower half of the figure, there's not much going on. It's just black tights. These are probably on every Undertaker Elite up to a certain point. It's probably the exact same mold. And then he's got these big kind of cloth wraps around his boots, I guess. I never know what to call these things. It's really specific to this version of the Undertaker. Those lead into the normal boots on the bottom here, but you can't forget there's a little bit of silver paint to look like some buttons or some buckles or something like that. Just silver dots, but it does, I guess, a job. Not that that is a bad thing. The Undertaker, never somebody to have the most complex ring gear. And actually, in terms of it being colorful and toyetic, this is probably the best you're going to get with an Undertaker. To go over his articulation, it's about the same we're used to on most other Elite figures. You see the head is on the ball joint here. He doesn't look forward very well either. He does have a pretty good range of tilt, actually more so than most elites I feel like. Probably that neck peg is sitting a little high to give him some height. The torso is going to hinge back that far, forward that much, not the best range, and he does have a waist swivel. The shoulder rotates, it hinges. You do get the upper bicep rotation. Single jointed elbow, I believe so. Well, I guess we could just look at the exposed one. And then rotation and hinge at the wrist. The legs are going to split pretty decent, especially for a big guy character. Doesn't kick back, kicks forward that far. Does have the upper thigh cut, a little bit tight. The double jointed knee, not blocked at all by any kind of knee pads. There is a cut at the boot, and then you do get a hinge, which is being blocked by this purple piece. And I guess it does hinge forward, but they're never the best hinges on these feet. And then the slightest bit of pivot also to the ankle. And that does about cover the Undertaker, and you can see his necktie definitely wants to swoosh to the left there. But with that, we're going to go ahead, let's do my favorite part, and let's do some comparison. And as always, we'll start out with the basics. We got Roman Reigns and we got Seth Rollins. And then for a much better, more accurate scale, let's bring in their elite counterparts of Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. To get more era appropriate, we got Razor Ramon from Legend Series 7, and we got Big Daddy Cool Diesel from the Network Spotlight. And I really like how all these look. This Undertaker is going to look great next to these guys. And then here he is with the Legends 8, Jake the Snake Roberts, and the WrestleMania Shawn Michaels. And I'm not even somebody who grew up during this era, but these figures just look great together. They definitely accent each other. They go great on a shelf. If you're building a 90s display, plenty of stuff has come out really since like the beginning of 2020 that these are all pretty new figures, and you're building a great display of early 90s WWF. And then we'll bring in the Undertaker's brother Kane. We got the corporate Kane version and the 90s Kane. That's actually the Undertaker as Kane figure, but I just choose to display it as Kane himself. And this is pretty far off. I'm pretty sure Undertaker abandoned the purple by the time Kane was around. But that being said, these two definitely look really nice together regardless. And then we'll bring in our Ruthless Aggression, our early 2000s Brothers of Destruction. We got the American Badass Undertaker. You can see the tattoos look about the same. And then this is the cool, like, inverted tank top Kane. I really like this figure. I still got to get Decade of Domination. And then finally, this is like a debut Undertaker. This is a basic figure. This came in a cool 2-pack with Sting that I got. I got it at like a discount store. But it's a really cool 2-pack, and I do like this for a basic. It's actually before they made the basics so obsolete. It had still the arm articulation, everything like that. And you can see for the tattoos, he's really just got that forearm piece. The rest of them is pretty bare, so definitely some time in between these two. And then this is like a pretty modern Undertaker, probably about 2 years old. I actually just picked up that Thank You Taker figure, but that's still in the box. I also got the WrestleMania 28 Undertaker, WrestleMania 30. There's a few others, but I have some in the box. Some kind of back of displays, but this is a pretty good comparison here for some different eras of The Undertaker. And overall, that does do it for the Legends Series 9 Undertaker, a pretty basic figure, and I guess if you had the previous versions of this, there might not be enough meat on the bone to upgrade your figure, but I think this is a pretty good release. I mean, Undertaker's somebody we get so many times a year, you're gonna have to reuse some looks, and this is one we haven't got in at least, I want to say, 4 years. And it's one I didn't have, so I was definitely glad to find this one in Target. The Legends line is pleasantly surprising. You got some really good picks in there. Some of them are kind of, I guess, dependent on if you grew up with them. But obviously, I'm going to pick up an Undertaker. But I'm not going to get a Nikolai Volkov. I'm not going to really get a Tatanka. I skipped out on Paul Orndorff. But those figures are there for people who collect them. So I think it's a cool line overall. And then we're even bringing in like the Firefly Funhouse debut style John Cena in the next wave. So overall, this Legends line has been pretty fun, and they're getting pretty creative with it. And I've enjoyed all these figures. I've built a whole kind of early 90s display out of these recent Legends line figures. So kind of building a new display, making me collect from this era that I really have no attachment to, but it makes me more interested in it. So I guess they're doing their job in that part. I guess in the same way that the classic Superstars line used to back in the 2000s. But overall, pretty good Undertaker. I'm happy with my purchase. I'm glad I found this guy. I probably wouldn't have bought him had I not seen him in the store. But he's going to go great with my Razor, with my Diesel, with my Shawn Michaels, with my Jake the Snake. They're all going to look very good on a shelf together, and I'm excited to see that. As always, I'm going to leave it off with some figure photography, and you can see my whole library on Instagram, scoopman_5000. But that is going to do it for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next action figure review.